And God said to Israel in a vision at night, and he said, Jacob, Jacob. Here I am, he replied. I am God, the God of your father. He said, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again. And Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. Genesis 46 and verse 2 to 4, hearing the voice of God. We continue, and I think this is a last voice of God speaking in the book of Genesis. So after that, we shall enter the book of Exodus and still track down God speaking to man. And here, when God spoke to Jacob in a vision, so here God used the mouth called vision. Yesterday, in the previous day, we saw God using the mouth called dream, because I told you God has several mouths that he uses in speaking. And here he is using the mouth called a vision. And he said, number one, he said, I am God, the God of your father. That is very important. Identity. The voice of God, the first thing it does is to reveal to you the identity of God. And if there is something that is making many people struggle in this life, is walking with a God that you cannot explain about. One can come in and ask you, can you tell me about your God? And really you know very well, vividly. You don't have the clearest information. But one of the things the voice of God does is, it gives you clarity about the identity of God himself. That is very important. Number two, the voice of God here, when he spoke, he said, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. Another thing, why was Jacob afraid to go down to Egypt? Because his father, Isaac, had been forbidden by God from going down to Egypt. So, why do you need God to speak? One of the reasons is the voice of God builds confidence about new ventures. The voice of God, when it speaks, it gives you the courage, the confidence, and the boldness to venture or to launch yourself in uncharted waters. A place you have never been, you don't know anybody there and all that. You'll be afraid. But what the voice of God comes to do is, it comes to burden you, to give you confidence about new ventures or about new territories. Something else that you need to understand here, he says, for I will make you into a great nation there. Why do you need the voice of God? Because the voice of God reveals to you the potential you carry. The potential you carry. And many people, why they are in the state in which they are in, is because you are not able to capture the full potential you carry. So I believe Jacob, or Israel, was seeing himself as if he is going to Egypt there to become extinct. But when the Lord spoke, he made Jacob understand the potential he was carrying. He told him, I will make you into a great nation there. So meaning you are a great nation, but still in processing. I will go down to Egypt with you. Why do you need God to speak? You don't need God to speak because he confirms, the voice of God confirms his presence in your endeavors. One of the major challenging things in this life is when you are doing things and you really don't know with clarity if God is a participant. Why do you need the voice of God? Because it confirms to you that in whatever you are doing, it may seem minor, it may seem insignificant, it may look as if it doesn't have a direction. But if God has spoken, then you know you are not doing it by yourself. You are doing it by the help of God. So the voice of God is very, very important, because it makes you to have that assurance that I am not alone. So you do not deal with your life from the circumstance you are in. You do not view things in your life from the current nature you are in, but you know behind your ear, the Lord is also in this. I am not alone. I am with Him in this. He says, and I will surely bring you back again. The voice of God carries the energy of restoration. I will bring you back again. That is restorative assurance. No matter the hole or a pit you can find yourselves in, if the Lord is speaking, that voice of God is carrying an energy of guaranteed restoration. Don't be worried. I will bring you back again. But now if you look at this, God was speaking in terms of the nation He has talked about. And also Jacob also returned, but he returned when he was dead to be buried. And then later in the future they returned through Moses or through Joshua. So the voice of God carries with it that assurance, restorative, that assurance of restoration. And then he says, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. The voice of God carries with it the finishing strong grace. Finishing strong grace. The grace of finishing strong. Imagine the Lord is telling him, your own son Joseph will close your eyes. So he is telling him, you will die in peace, in prosperity, in good condition, being taken good care of. And by this time already Jacob knows where Joseph is. In this already Jacob knows where Joseph is and who Joseph is. So the key word here is, when the voice of God is speaking, that one will be a reality. So how did Jacob position himself to hear the voice of God? Number one, being at Beersheba. Number two, offering sacrifices in verse 1. Genesis 46 verse 1. Jacob or Israel, when he reached Beersheba. So you need to understand what happened at Beersheba. Beersheba is a place his grandfather Isaac, in Genesis 21 and verse 33, Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called upon the name of the Lord, the eternal God. Get that? So make sure you operate from Beersheba. Beersheba is what? Beersheba is an altar of calling on the name of the Lord. Number two is offered sacrifices to God. So make offerings to God. When Jacob offered sacrifices to God, then God spoke to him. Two important things. And remember here, he is in Israel nature. He is not in Jacob nature, he is in Israel. So transformation, when you are transformed